Your big brother played with Hot Wheels. Your cool cousin played with Matchbox. What did you play with in the 80s? Stompers. They put the other car toys to shame. This is a video I've been wanting to do for a long time. And sorry I don't remember your name. Somebody asked me today if I'd done a video on them, and I thought no. Maybe this time I should. We're going to talk about Stompers. What a cool toy line. If you grew up in the 80s and you were a kid, especially if you had a penis, you played with Stompers. You at least had one of them, I'm sure. Or if you didn't, you had a friend that had it. These were battery-operated toy cars. They were small, a little bigger than like Hot Wheels and Matchbox, but they had wheels, tires I should say, that looked real. Yeah, they looked real. They were rubbery. And they had an axle. You put batteries in them and all the wheels turned, all four of them. Awesome. Now before we get into talking about each one, and there's a lot of them, so I'm not going to sit here and be able to look at every one they made, because these things went throughout the 80s, into the 90s, even into the early 2000s. So we're just going to talk about them. You know, I like to tell you my experience with things, kind of put a little nostalgia with it, or how I fell in love with these. I can remember seeing them at a Family Dollar in my neighborhood. Well, not in my neighborhood. It wasn't like across the street or anything. It was a Family Dollar, for God's sakes. But I could walk to it, take about 30 minutes to walk there. We would usually walk up to a gas station that was called Papa John's. Had nothing to do with the pizza company. You know, I go there and buy a Mellow Yellow in that glass bottle with a styrofoam label. Remember that? You could pull it down and make it pop. Yeah, you could impress the girls if you could make your styrofoam pop. Some of you know what I'm talking about. Some of you probably have no clue at all. Well, we walk down there, then we go to the shopping center across the street. There was a library in there. We go in there, laugh at nerds reading books. Although I would check out the how they draw Star Wars characters. I talked about before. I hate it. It'd be like, draw a line here, draw a line here, draw a line here, and then the next page would be like Yoda. You're like, I think you skipped a lot there, dude. But we walked to the library, then we walked down to Family Dollar, see what was going on down there. So then we even walk over to the Piggly Wiggly. You never know what we were going to get into. There was even a shoe store that sold Buster Browns. Buster Browns, remember those? There was a bowling alley down there. You have to go kind of under the shopping center. It was really cool. It was really dark, like you weren't supposed to be there. You were a kid. And the guy that lived like a walrus, if he wasn't working, you could hang out there. If he was there, he'd kick you out there. He's too young. But you go over to the arcade section. They had about 5 arcade games. First place I saw the Star Wars arcade game. Remember that? We got to go into the Death Star. Oh, I love that thing. My brother saw it, came home and told me. I had to walk down there and see it for myself. He was like, it talks. It talks. It does Obi-Wan Kenobi's voice. It was awesome. They had pool tables. Go down there and pool. We usually go on night. Sometimes you cut school, you go down there. Again, the walrus man usually worked during the day. He'd kick you out. He looked like that walrus from a cartoon. Remember that guy? Maybe I can find a picture of it. But I'm rambling. You're here to talk about Stompers, and we're already about 4 minutes into this thing. And I'm telling you about my... Anyway, me and my friend Mike. Yeah, it was Mike. It was before I started hanging out with Boyd around about that same time. Me and my friend Mike went to a... They call it a tractor pool. I never saw anyone pull a tractor, but I think that's what they call a tractor pool. It was where they had the big monster trucks, you know, the 4x4s, and they would ride through mud and splash mud everywhere and everything. And we went there, and we thought it was really cool and everything. And I can remember we went down to Family Dollar maybe a couple of days later, and we saw these Stompers. And we had this in our heads, like, these are cool. We're going to buy one each, take them back home, get a little section of the house and get some mud in the ground, some dirt in the ground, tie them together, see who can pull, who's got the better Stomper truck, who can pull who. Well, these things, according to the commercial and everything, they could pull a lot of stuff. And we never did do that. I don't know why. I bought them. I don't think my friend Mike ever bought them. He was about my age, maybe a year or two older, but he was always into football and girls and stuff. And I was like, come on, let's play with Stompers, let's play in the mud. So we never did do that. Never got to find out if you hooked 2 Stompers together, because that's what they did at the tractor pool. They would tie 2 of these big trucks together and have to have like a tug of war with them. That would have been kind of fun. But that's when I first really found out about these. And I love the smell of them. You put these batteries in them, and you can smell them. You remember that smell? Does anybody remember that smell? Kind of like the RC cars, the slot cars on the racetracks. They had a smell. But these Stompers, just kind of like a burning smell. Love that smell. And they made a lot of them. In 1980, they just made 5 of them. But first, let me tell you about the guy who invented them. Because, can you believe it? This guy's 102, and he's still alive. At least in December 2023, he was still alive. Still alive, 102. Man, there must be something in those Stompers. His name's Eddie Gloford. Sure, I pronounced that right, so I'll spell it down here. Anyway, this guy also made Kaplunk. Remember that? The game with the marbles and pickup sticks? Kaplunk. He also made Kaplump. And I'll tell you more about these Stompers, but let's take a look at them as I tell you about them. These were made by Sharper Toys. Again, I hope I pronounced that right. They were founded in 1949. They were the original makers of the game Cootie. Remember that, Cootie? But we're not here to talk about Cooties. They brought Stompers to the toy stores in 1980 with only 5 trucks. They also had the Stunt Set and Wild Mountain Set. These had a single motor inside, but it turned both axes with the help of a AA battery. I'm glad they didn't use that square battery. Only thing that square battery was good for was putting inside of a walkie-talkie. Never really worked with anything else. They were the first battery-powered true 4-wheel drive toy car. Now these things were released by other toy companies outside the US, but I'm just going to tell you about the US ones for now. Now before you tell me, what about the Stompers A-Team and Knight Rider cars? Those were cool. You had those. No, you didn't. Stomper didn't make those. You had the LJN Rough Riders. They were lucky to get the pop culture names, you know, the TV show names like the A-Team and Knight Rider. And, yep, this toy company that made Stompers sued LJN. But apparently they settled, made some kind of deal, and both toy companies kept making the toy cars. By 1981, these things were becoming a big hit. So the company released a spin-off line. These were motorcycles, Stompers SSC Supercycles. Now I forgot all about this thing until I saw it today doing this video, and I was like, I had the green one. I had it. My grandmother brought it for me, and I usually talk about my grandma buying us toys, spoiling us. That's on my dad's side. My mom's side, she was a good lady and everything. We just didn't really connect, and she wasn't really one to buy us a bunch of toys and stuff. She didn't spoil us. So when she buys you something, you remembered it. And I can remember she bought me this thing, and I remember bringing it over to her house. Making it jump all over the place, probably driving her crazy. I remember she had this blanket, this like quilt thing, and it got all stuck up in the tires and everything. She wasn't happy about it, but hey, at least it wasn't her hair or anything. But anyway, this toy line didn't do as good as the Stomper trucks, and it was canceled pretty early. In 1982, they added a few more trucks, bucket lift, cement mixer, a dumper, and a record. In 1983, the Stompers got an update. They added a second speed, free wheel, so you could play with them if they were turned off or if the battery was dead. And the tires were wider, which I guess gave it more traction, more pull, which makes me wish even more that me and my friend tied them together and did tug of war in the mud with them. Why didn't we do that? In 1984, they added a new line called Stomper Super Dragsters. These were 6 supercharged, neutron-powered dragsters, and it was claimed to be the fastest vehicle known to man. In 1985, they added the Monster 4x4 trucks. 1984, Monster Trucks 4x4s. This is probably what I found out about them. Because Monster Trucks, mud and everything, 84 would have been a good time. I would probably went to see something with my friends without my parents, because I don't remember my parents being there. I can remember being excited because they were dropping us off and we were doing something cool without parents involved. So this is probably when I found out about them. And these 4x4 Monster Trucks, they were so powerful, they needed at least one C battery. No more AA. In 1986, they added a mini line, mini 4x4s. And these, AAA batteries. Also in 1984, can you believe this? They teamed up with McDonald's for Stomper Happy Meals. You get a Happy Meal and you get a little mini Stomper truck. These weren't battery operated, but they were still cool. Sure is a lot better than that fruit cup and book you get at Chick-fil-A. No kid wants a fruit cup and a dang book. Tyco would take over the line in 1987 and add a new line called Driving Devils. These were not only go on land, but also in the water. You could take it in the bathtub with you. Uh-oh, watch out, Jimmy. You don't want that freshly grown pubic hair to get in the axle. Ugh. The line would be canceled in 1988, but would return 4 years later, now being released under DreamWorks Toys, and they would add some military cars to the line. But those would be released in 1992 and also canceled in 1992. The line would disappear from toy stores until 1997. That's when they would return, released by Peachtree Playthings. And they would stay around in the toy stores until 1999. And they would return once again in 2001, released by Tenco Toys. And they would stay around to 2002. Now, if anyone else brought them back, maybe so. It's probably a name that's been floated around here and there. Probably people used it that didn't even pay for it. But to me, the original ones from the 80s, that was the best ones. It seems like when each toy company took it over, it would go down a little bit each time. Now, not only do they release single vehicles, they release some playsets also, such as Tumbleweed Trail, Wild Canyon, Devil Mountain, Badlands Trail, and some other ones here and there, as you can see looking at these pictures. Now, I wish I could sit here and tell you about each one release, but like I said, they released so much of this stuff, it was hard to go through everything. So, like I said, I was just throwing out kind of the best, coolest looking one and pictures for you, because I'm sure you had one. I'm sure you did. Probably more than one. Did you ever make them tug of war with each other? Wish me a mic still dead. That would have been awesome. We had a little piece of area in the back of the yard. We could have made it, dug up the grass and everything and made it real muddy. Why did we do that? I never forgot that we never did do it. I don't know. Every time I play with it, I was like, oh, I want to do that. Why didn't I do it myself? I didn't need his car to do it. Anyway, that's a look at Stompers. Tell me about some Stompers you had, because I'm sure without a doubt you had some Stompers. Maybe you had every one made. Maybe you were a Stomper collector head. Maybe you're like, I got to get every Stomper. Let me know that and more in the comments below.
Hey, Junkman channel popping though.
Thank you, sir, for that unsolicited testimony.